Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video on MMA Unhinged. Welcome back to another podcast on MMA Unhinged. As again, we are joined here by Oscar Silva, my co-host, and I'm back. We are back. Oscar, firstly, how are you over there in America? We've got a big week on our hands of UFC.
I'm feeling incredible. This is a once in a lifetime weekend that we are experiencing here. Dana White has invested north of $20 million, not to make a profit, but to make a love letter to the Mexican people, to educate the world about the history of Mexican combat in a feature film that he's calling For Mexico for All Time. And I think it's going to deliver. Not only that, he also made sure to include a bevy of Mexican elite talent on this card. And he's just doing a phenomenal job with it, if I'm being honest. Sure, is he being a little cheap with the talent? Were there some exclusions that we don't like to see? Sure, but at the end of the day, I'm very excited for this event. Dana has done a great job promoting this, and at the end of the day, I think we're going to be looking at a very fun event to watch. And they brought in a very notable director to create an immersive experience. So the people that are watching it at home get just a glimpse of what the people in person are experiencing.
Yeah, it's going to be phenomenal as you're speaking there. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great event, as you mentioned in there. All kinds of spectacles going down, and we were talking about like the seats even moving to what's going on with the action. Um, Phenomenal stuff. One of a lifetime opportunity. If you're here at the event, something that you're never going to experience before, or maybe ever again. You're paying ridiculous money. And it's going to be something that you're going to really, really enjoy. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about UFC Noche, an event for, as you talked about, their Mexican heritage. This is a big one. I was talking to you before we went on air. Oscar, what is Noche? What does that Mexican independence all mean for Mexicans? Obviously, I was talking about you. You are should we say Mexican?
Yeah, I was born in Mexico, immigrated over to the US when I was about 2 years old, but I'm still very proud of the heritage. There's so much richness in it when it comes to combat. We are the Mexicans are come from the Aztec people, which are notorious warriors, and they had to get their independence from Spain, and that is on the 16th of December, and that is what is being celebrated on this weekend. And I think Sugar Sean O'Malley and Marav Dvalishvili, sure, they're not Mexican, but those guys are really going to fight like Mexicans in there. They're going to give it their all. There's no doubt in my mind that neither guy is going to leave any stone unturned in their preparation. And it's all going to come down to who the better fighter is on this night. And it's a very tough one to pick, but I'm going to hand it over to you. Who do you think comes out as bantamweight champion in the sphere? Sugar Sean O'Malley, the champion, or the streaking Georgian contender Murad Davashvili?
Yeah, if I think if we're picking logical, we're being smart. I think there's only one pick, and it's Marab Divishvili. If Marab can get Sean O'Malley to the ground constantly over and over again, which I do feel like he has the capability and talent, and I feel like we will see at one point, obviously Sean O'Malley on his backside, maybe looking up the stars a little bit. Um, but yeah, if we're thinking logically. I think the obvious pick has got to be Marab. It's got to be Marab. I think I would class him as a favourite. But there's only one thing where I've seen in Marab's game where I could feel like okay maybe Sean O'Malley could exploit that a little bit is how often Marab gets clipped. I feel like sometimes a little bit stationary. He doesn't move his head as well as we've seen in that fight against Peter Yan. Peter Yan hurt him multiple times, dropped him. And I feel like there's only one person in the bantamweight division you do not want to be there to get hit against, and I believe that's Sean O'Malley. If you get hit by Sean O'Malley, I believe you get stayed. You get hit, you stay hit. And he's a finisher. We saw it against Aljamain Sterling. Eventually, he stopped the fight. Now Marab is going to look to get some revenge for his teammate, Aljamain Sterling. But I'm not too sure. I think the obvious pick and the smart pick is Marab Dvalishvili, but Sean O'Malley, he's done some unspeakable things in MMA. it almost seems like we're watching a really good talent, a fantastic talent, upon our eyes. Can he do it again? I'm not sure, and that's why I'm going with Marv Davishvili. I'm going with my head. I'm trying to be wise with it. But if there is one guy I spoke about to produce a fantastic performance, a knockout for a highlight reel, I believe it's Sean O'Malley. But for right now, as I stand right now, it's Marv Davishvili.
Yeah, the consensus amongst the community is that either Sugar Sean O'Malley gets this early knockout or Merab Dvalishvili is going to drown him in the late rounds and win a decision. And honestly, I fall on the side of a Merab winning a decision here because of his endless cardio. He is called a machine for a reason. We've seen him on multiple occasions be in these precarious situations, like in the Marlon Moraes fight where he was knocked down. He was getting hit with endless ground and pound, and miraculously he gets a takedown and he just beats the soul out of Marlon Moraes. I think he landed nearly 200 ground and pound strikes and ended up finishing that fight. Sugar Sean O'Malley does not have the cardio issues that Marlon Moraes has. In his last fight, he landed an incredible amount of strikes against Marlon Vera, and he really didn't look tired in there. But the difference maker here is he's going to have to wrestle in this fight if he wants to or not. Marlon Vera is not shooting takedowns. Merab is nearing the record for the most attempted takedowns in the history of the UFC. He will never stop. In the Piotr Jan fight, he attempted nearly 50 takedowns in this fight. I just think his pace is going to be overwhelming for Sugar Sean O'Malley. I'm predicting that Sugar Sean is going to look incredible early on in this fight. He's going to be very accurate. He's going to open up that cut that we know is north of the eye of Merab Dvalishvili. But eventually, Merab is going to stick to him like glue. He's going to close the distance. He's going to impose his will, and he will get takedowns. He will not hold down Sean O'Malley, but Sean O'Malley will be just defending the whole time. A good example is when Merab fought Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo defended every takedown. Did it matter? No, it didn't, because the whole time he was defending takedowns. So that's what I'm expecting here. Sean O'Malley will be on the defense the whole time. Merab gets enough control time and wins a decision here and establishes himself as the bantamweight champion, calls out Umar Nurmagomedov next for a big fight.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see that Umar versus Merab fight, but this weekend he's got to get past Sugar Sean O'Malley. Sugar Sean O'Malley's been speaking about boxing. All these sort of things in the lead up. I truly think he'll be taking Merab Dvalishvili, as highly. He's got to. Merab Dvalishvili is no joke. The only time we've ever seen him, sort of get beaten, obviously, his first two fights inside the UFC, but since then, near perfect. Beat Pete Yan, beat Jose Aldo. Only been knocked down a few times against Pete Yan. That we're talking about that puncher's chance that Sean O'Malley has. I think it's definitely highly likely. Do you believe if Sean O'Malley gets a victory, it's got to be early for him? He's got to not potentially go all out for the first two rounds, but that's the most highest chance that he's got of winning is knocking out Merab Dvalishvili in the first or second round, potentially when the Georgian is maybe a bit cold.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. Before Merab starts to wear on Sugar Sean's going to be very loose in there. He can be quicker, more accurate, and that's when he's at his best. If I'm being honest, Sugar Sean doesn't have this crazy punching power. If you look at the Chris Moutinho fight, Chris Moutinho, he's a tough guy, but he got easily knocked out multiple times in his career. Sugar Sean, it took until like the last minute of that fight to get the stoppage. It's all about the accuracy. If he can hit you on the right spot, he will finish you most likely. The Aljamain Sterling fight, that was a bit of an early stoppage there. And Merab has never been knocked out. He's never been submitted. And I just really think we're going to see Merab show off his durability in this fight. This guy's extremely tough. If you've seen him before, he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. He jumped headfirst into a lake of water. He's had all these injuries, and he just bounces back so well. When he defeated the Olympic gold medalist Henry Cejudo earlier this year by ragdolling him, 3 weeks later, he was weighing in as the backup for Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Cheetah Bear. He's got a different mindset. He says you have to kill him to finish him, and I really believe that. I think Marab will be in trouble in this fight, but he will have to close that distance and get those takedowns, and that's what I expect here.
Yeah, 100% agree. Marab might not be Mexican, but I believe he's going to have that Mexican chin on the weekend. I believe he will take a lot of shots. Fantastic stuff. I'm looking forward to it in the main event. It's gonna be a really interesting one for me. Obviously that's the main event. That's the spectacle I'm looking forward to. But there's fights down this card that I'm really looking forward to the most. We've got Brian Ortega, Diego Lopez on the main card. But before that, we'll talk about the co-main event of the evening. We got a Mexican in the co-main event. We got Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko. Not the first time we've seen this fight, not the second time, but I believe it's the trilogy now. One draw, one win for Alexa Grasso. Who takes the third fight? A lot of people, I still don't believe Valentina Shevchenko is not, and we know she's old, 36 years old. She's had a lot of fights, but I still have seen a lot from her where I have a confidence maybe I could pick her in this fight. In that last fight, in the draw against Alexa Grasso, could have went either way. That first fight, she got submitted. It is what it is. I still think Valentina Shevchenko, 125 pounds, is one of the best in the world. Alexa Grasso is one of the best in the world. I think this is one of the best fight. I know we got who we got coming through. We've got a lot of hungry contenders. Manoya. We also got Tatiana Suarez, wherever she decides to go. But yeah, we got a lot of contenders coming through. But these are two of the best 125 pounders women's in the world. Is it going to be in the hands of the Bullet Shevchenko or Alexa Grasso? Is the belt going back to Mexico? I'm not too sure. I think I've seen enough for me, and maybe that draw that could have went either way. But I'm rooting for the challenger. I'm rooting for the former champion. I'm going with Valentina Shevchenko. If there's anyone that can produce she produced highlight reel knockouts. She knocked out Jessica Eye really bad, unconscious. She possesses the power in her kicks anyway to knock people out. She's vicious. She's striking is beautiful. Obviously, we've seen her grappling as well. It's a very, very well matched fight. But I'm in the hands of Valentina Shevchenko. I don't know why, but I think the Bullet is going to get a crown back. I think she's going to bring back the belt.
It's kind of hard to pick Valentina, in my opinion, after she made me look like a complete fool when she got submitted as a 6-1 favorite in their first fight. After that, my confidence in Valentina's abilities kind of decreased. But she made up for it in the rematch last year at Noche UFC when, in my opinion, she was robbed. The only reason she didn't win was because Judge Mike Bell scored a 10-8 round for her in round 5, which I thought was egregious because Alexa Grasso, she had a lot of control time, but she didn't do significant enough damage to get a 10-8 round. So I feel like Valentina won the last fight, and obviously Grasso submitted her the first time around. But in my opinion, the big factor that makes me pick Alexa Grasso is the age. She's 31 and Valentina is 36. Valentina, in my opinion, is a finished product. I think what she's trying to do at this point is just maintain her skill set and avoid a decline. While on the other hand, you have Alexa Grasso, who trains at her own gym in Mexico with her father coaching her, and Diego Lopez coaching her in jiu-jitsu. So I think we're going to see a better version of Alexa Grasso, better boxing, better jiu-jitsu. And while Valentina, it's possible that we're going to see a little bit of a decrease in her abilities. And a major concern for me was Valentina was knocked down in the last fight. That's something we have never seen before, is Valentina get dropped. So that kind of shows me that she's not as durable as she once was. So for that reason, I'm going to go with Alexa Grasso. I think she's going to have the speed advantage here whenever they're striking. And when it goes to the ground, I think she's going to be able to get Valentina's back. And I think she submits her again in round 4 of this fight. In the last fight, as I said, she had a lot of control time in round 5. She was able to get her back there for a second. I think with Diego Lopez coaching her for a little longer, she's going to be able to finish the choke this time. These two coach the Ultimate Fighter against each other, and I already know Alexa Grasso's been working on those rear naked chokes. I think she gets it again.
Yeah, a lot of great points. But I'm going to stay with Valentin Shevchenko. I'm staying with the former champion, the Bullet. I told you so fight of the week. We'll talk about this one next week, Oscar. And we'll see what happens. It's going to be fantastic stuff. I'm looking forward to it. It's good to see the UFC Flyweight Championship out on the line between one of the two best 125 pounders in the world in the women's division. Next one, we've got two of the best 145 pounds. We've got Brian Ortega and we've got Diego Lopez. As you talked about there, Diego Lopez training Alexa Grasso, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach for Grasso. Since moving to the UFC, obviously his debut was against Movsar Uvlev. He lost that decision by unanimously, but since then has looked near perfect. Beating Gavin Tucker, beating Pat Sabatini, Sadiq Youssef, and in the last one against Dan Ige. Dan Ige stepping on with like a day's notice, not even that, when he was meant to fight Brian Ortega. Now we're at UFC 306 in UFC Noche in the Sphere. He finally takes on Brian Ortega, who also has Mexican heritage. They both do. I think Diego Lopez lives in Mexico and stuff like that. So a good one for the Mexican fans. But I'm still not too sure. Do we go on the side of Brian Ortega, who's had this title experience, had these top 5 level experience, fought some of the best in the world, or do we go for the young, hungry prospect in Diego Lopez, who once upon a time, that was Brian Ortega. That was Brian Ortega when he was fighting Max Holloway, and Max Holloway absolutely drained him. Are we going to see a similar story where Brian Ortega beats Diego Lopez and drains the life out of Diego Lopez? Or do we see the continued rise of Diego Lopez and just seeing how good he is? Because since his loss against Movsar Evlev, he's looked fantastic. Will we see that trajectory going in that way on Saturday night? Well, today.
So for Brian Ortega, this is kind of a weird situation he's in. He wanted to fight at lightweight on this card, and then he was called to fight Diego Lopez on short notice. And during that time, he was bulking up to 155, so he has to make a dramatic weight cut. And the weight cut beats him up so much he gets sick and has to pull out of the fight. And now he's fighting again against Diego Lopez. I think it's kind of weird. I don't think he's fully interested in this fight, quite honestly. And Diego Lopez, on the other hand, has been this unstoppable force. You have to give him all the credit in the world for changing his opponent on a couple hours' notice. I just believe that his striking just looks better and better out there every time. He's so aggressive. Obviously, his jiu-jitsu is high level, but I wouldn't say it's as good as Brian Ortega's. But I believe it will be good enough to defend the submission attempts for Brian Ortega. On the feet, Brian Ortega's striking defense has always been a problem. If you recall, Max Holloway teaching him how to block in the middle of the fight. He comes back against the Korean Zombie and he looks really good, but the Volkanovski fight, he was unrecognizable afterwards because he took so much damage. The Yair Rodriguez fight, which was this year in February, in that fight, he got knocked down very early. His striking defense was basically non-existent in that fight, and he took advantage of the fact that Yair slowed down a little bit and has never been that great of a defensive grappler. Diego Lopez is a way better grappler than Yair Rodriguez. So I think on the feet, we're going to have Diego Lopez piecing up Brian Ortega early on. But I will admit, Diego Lopez, he slowed down a little bit in that fight against Dan Ige. He lost that third round. Brian Ortega is a legendary third round fighter. This guy has finished so many guys in round 3 in fights where he's losing. So if you want to bet on Brian Ortega, probably bet on him to win in round 3, probably by submission. But I think Diego Lopez is tough enough and smart enough to anticipate what Brian Ortega is going to try to do in round 3. Maybe pace himself a little more. And I think he's going to win the decision on the strength of the damage he'll have done on the feet.
Yeah, tough one to call. Is it T City or is it Lopez? I feel like Lopez. I'm riding the wave. I feel like we're going to see him get it done. The momentum. I like what you were saying about Brian Ortega, maybe having one foot outside of the door at 145 pounds and then getting recalled to 145 pounds. Maybe he's not all there. Not obviously he's going to be all there, concentrated and ready to go. But one door was outside of the division. He was looking to go to 155 pounds. So, and there's a lot of great matchups for 155 pounds up there for him. So, I completely agree. But what happens this weekend? I feel like Diego Lopez gets the job done. But this one, a fantastic one, a tough call. Brian Ortega in an underdog situation. Let's see what it brings out of T City. It's going to be a good one. Next one on the main card, we've got Daniel Zellhuber versus Esteban Rubivic. This one, a battle between, obviously, we've got another Mexican on the card, Daniel Zellhuber. He was sat next to Lazy Boy at the press conference, laughing his head off. It was great to watch that press conference. Lazy Boy was throwing a lot of stuff out to Ode Osborne in Mexican or Spanish. Unfortunately, I'm not very good at Spanish. I know Oscar would have been able to understand what he was saying. But Daniel Zellhuber, Esteban Rubivic, a fantastic fight, 155 pounds. This one, a battle between 15-1 and 13-1 in their MMA career. Daniel Zellhuber, 3-1 inside the UFC. Only loss was against Trey Ogden in his UFC debut. Since then, beat Lando Renato, Christian Yargos, and Francisco Prado in his last one. Esteban Rubivic. He's 2-1 inside the UFC. He beat Terrence McKinney in his last fight in a nasty head kick in 37 seconds. This one in the hands of the Mexican or the guy from Argentina. A battle between, if I'm correct, two South Americans. So this will be good.
Yeah, I really think this is exactly the kind of fight that belongs on this card. Two guys that are going to stand and strike. It's going to be a test of wheels out there, but ultimately, Daniel Zellhuber is the more technical guy. He's got a significant advantage in size in this fight, and he knows how to use it. In his last fight against Francisco Prado, that was a fight where he was very disciplined. He made Francisco Prado unrecognizable at the end of the fight with his jab mainly. The blood was crazy. The guy clearly couldn't see, but he kept on fighting. And Daniel Zellhuber was not reckless in there. He didn't give him a chance to win. He just stayed on the outside, played it smart. He's just really developed so much since his debut against Trey Ogden. That was a fight where the UFC jitters got to him. Since then, he's looked nothing short of tremendous. Esteban Rubivic, on the other hand, he lost his debut because he couldn't defend those takedowns too well. Since then, on the feet, he beats everybody. So this, to me, is a fascinating fight. Both guys only one loss total, and I feel like they've grown since then. I just think Daniel Zellhuber, with that 8-inch reach advantage, will be able to stay at range, piece him up with the jab the whole time, stay disciplined. Rubivic doesn't really have much of a offensive grappling game to give Zellhuber problems, and if he does, he might get his neck snatched, just like Zellhuber did last year to Christos Iago. So I think Zellhuber is 100% the pick. This is going to be a very fun fight, but Zellhuber is definitely the pick. Quite confident on that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm also on the side of Golden Boy. A fantastic little fight in the 155-pound division. I like it. Fantastic records, 15-1 versus 13-1. Only two losses combined. So this one is going to be a great one to watch. Daniel Zellhuber has looked decent inside the UFC thus far. Can he continue it tonight? We are going to find out. The last one on the main card, we got Lazy Boy Ronaldo Rodriguez against Ode Osborne. They were talking a lot in the press conference. Maybe this one's a little bit got a little bit more to it now, a little bit more spice, because they were going back and forth. They were trading words. But let's talk about it. Ode Osborne, he's had a lot of fights inside the UFC. He is 4-5, not the greatest fighter in the world, but he beats these prospects and overcomes these. He only loses. He's lost to obviously Tyson Nam, Manel Cap, but he's always getting finished. And I believe that's what we're going to see this weekend. I think Lazy Boy Ronaldo Rodriguez is going to go in there and look good. If you look at his record, he's a finisher. A lot of finishes on his record. His only loss comes to Jerome Riviera. That was his second loss in his career. It was Jerome Rivera on the Contender Series in 2020. Since then, a lot of fights, a lot of wins. He comes in with this one, I believe, with a lot of momentum and nothing to lose. I think Ronaldo Rodriguez is 25 years old. He's going to go in there, and I feel like we're going to see a fantastic performance against Ode Osborne, who's 2 losses in a row. I think it's going to be his third loss in this weekend. I believe he'll get finished as well.
I disagree with you here. I think Ronaldo is a little bit overrated heading into this fight week. When you look at his resume, it's not impressive by any means. His last fight was in that Mexico City elevation against Dennis Bondar, and Dennis Bondar naturally he gassed out, and after that he was kind of defensive. Easily gave up the rear naked choke. Ode Osborne, he lives in Vegas. Obviously, there's no elevation adjustment here whatsoever. I think Ode Osborne does have a cardio problem, but usually we see it creep up in round 3. So that's when Rodriguez will have a shot here. But I just think Ode Osborne has got a huge reach advantage in this fight, 8-inch reach advantage, similar to the Zellhuber fight. This is a guy that can use his jab and keep it at range, and I really think he's a much better boxer. He's got a lot more pop on his punches. You mentioned Rodriguez lost to Jerome Rivera. Want to know what Ode did to Jerome Rivera? He knocked him out in 43 seconds. So I think Ode Osborne is a lot more dangerous on the feet, and he's looking to get a knockout here. I don't think he does. Rodriguez never been finished. He's a very tough guy, but I just think Ode Osborne wins round 1 and 2 with his superior boxing, and I also think he's a better wrestler. I think Rodriguez has got better submissions, but I think Ode can get some takedowns here if he wants to as well. But I just think Ode, before he slows down, will have done enough to win a decision in this fight.
Yeah, a tough one to call. I'm going Ronaldo Rodriguez, and you're going Ode Osborne. A fantastic fight. I'm looking forward to it. 125 pounds. 125 pounds in the UFC division is always stacked. So two good fighters. This one should entertain to kick off the main card. In the prelims, Irene Aldana versus Norman Dumont. Irene Aldana. We've seen her name inside the UFC for a little bit now. She's 8-5 inside the UFC. Made her debut in 2016. Come off a back win against Cara Rosa, and now she faced Norman Dumont, the Brazilian, who's 11-2. She's only lost to Macy Chachon and Megan Anderson. Since then, her loss against Macy Chachon, she beat Danielle Wolf, Cara Rosa, Chelsea Chandler, and Jeraine Duraname in her last one. Does she beat Ariane Aldana tonight? That is the question. Is the Mexican going to bring home the win, or is it the Brazilian?
Yeah, I have to go with Aldana in this fight. If you look at her run outside of the title fight as of late, she's looked pretty incredible. Her last fight was a spectacular fight. It won the fight of the night bonus that night against Cara Rosa. She showed off insane toughness because she ate the record for light kicks in the history of the division, and she still kept on marching forward and won the fight thanks to her boxing. I think she's a better boxer than Norma Dumont. If Norma wants to win, she has to try to clinch her and try to get takedowns. Aldana has gotten taken down many times before, but she's shown really good scrambling ability, and she's even pulled off good submissions and even got this crazy up kick to the liver TKO win against Macy Cheslin, who beat Norma Dumont. So I think Aldana has got more tools here, and ultimately we're going to see these girls striking more often than not. In Aldana, as I said, better boxer, and you also have to factor in with close fights like these is that we're going to have a very pro-Mexican crowd. They're going to be cheering everything Aldana does, and that's going to help her win a very close fight that this will be. So she's going to win a decision.
Yeah, I know we're talking about obviously the UFC's and Sophia, but how many Mexicans do you believe will be in attendance? Would this be a big deal for the Mexicans and the fans? Do you think they'll become in numbers?
So I think they will, because if you saw the weigh-ins, the press conference, you could tell that a lot of people were very fond of the Mexican fighters. They were booing those that were not Mexican. So I'm expecting massive support for the Mexicans. Not only the fact that we're celebrating the Mexican Independence Day, the whole thing is going to be Mexican themed. Even if somebody is not Mexican, they're going to have kind of affinity for the Mexican culture as they watch this card.
Yeah, a lot of Chicos and Amigos should be in attendance. I don't even know what that means, but I'm rolling with it. But yeah, next one is Manuel Torres versus Ignacio Bahamondes. Another fantastic one, 155 pounds. Bahamondes, he's got that highlight reel that everyone dreams of. The fantastic, the flashy kicks. He did it on the Contender Series. He's done it inside the UFC in his last fight done it against Christian Yargos. He's only lost to Ludovic Klein and John Medeski. But yeah, Manuel Torres. This guy is 15-2. 3-0 inside the UFC, coming off a fantastic win against Chris Duncan. Chris Duncan, I think, is a fantastic fight. Obviously, I do because he's Scottish, he's British. Before that, he's beat Nicholas Motta, Frank Camacho, but he's not just beating them. He's beating them in a round. He's finishing them. He's looking impressive. Does that continue this weekend? Can Manuel Torres potentially take him down and get a submission? I think it's very likely. If you look at the losses in Manuel Torres' career, his only 2 losses come via submission, knee bar and heel hook. So clearly, I believe that would have been him just getting caught, slipping up, making a mistake. This weekend, in a high-profile bout against Ignacio Bahamondes, I believe he looks good. He looks well, and I believe he beats Bahamondes. I think he submits him. Bahamondes, though, as you talked about earlier, the reach, the size, at 155 pounds, this guy's 6'3". He's massive. That could definitely play a factor, and I'm pretty sure Oscar will definitely bring that up. But yeah, my pick is Manuel Torres. I think he gets the job done. I think he takes him down, and I believe we might even see a second round or first round finish. This guy's a killer. He's a stone cold killer, and I like the look of him.
Yeah, they don't call him El Loco for nothing. If you don't know what El Loco means, it means the lunatic. This guy's crazy. He tries to kill everybody immediately. If you look at his record, it's all first round finishes. But here's the thing. What happens when you're fighting a durable guy that doesn't get finished? You're the one that's tired. And this guy, Ignacio, his nickname is La Jaula. That means the cage. He's going to lock up the lunatic. He's going to make him uncomfortable in those later rounds, and he's going to piece him up. And I think he's going to knock him out with a head kick in round 3. Ignacio Bahamondes has been improving constantly, and I don't think Manuel Torres is going to have the cardio because of the pace that he fights at in those later rounds. Ignacio has been labeled by Bilal Muhammad, the welterweight champion. He's been labeled the best striker in the UFC. I don't believe that, but he must be showing something extraordinary in the gym. And Manuel Torres is super aggressive, but I'm not seeing this crazy technique out of him. I think he's going to leave openings that Ignacio can take advantage of. Of course, that height advantage, that reach advantage, it will play a factor. And I think he can knock him out with a head kick. He's done it many times before. And this is going to be an absolute war. It could win fight of the night. But I'm going to have to lean with Ignacio Bahamondes here. I think he's improving.
Yeah, if you look at his record as you were speaking, head kick knockout versus Christian Yargos, knockout wheel kick versus Roswell Roberts, a lot of highlight reel knockouts on his career thus far. Obviously he had that that win on the Contender Series as well, but I can't find it. There you go, that front kick, that nasty front kick, and that was a guy who was small, similar height to Manuel Torres. Potentially that front kick could make its place up again. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this fight. Fantastic fight, 155 pounds. But I'm going with Manuel Torres. You're going with Bahamondes. Let's see who gets the victory tonight at the UFC for Sophia. Next one, we've got Yasmin versus Caitlin Souza. Yasmin, a heavy favorite, -500 according to Tapology. She's a fantastic prospect coming out of Mexico. This one, 115 pounds, 11-1 in her mixed martial arts career thus far. 3-1 inside the UFC. Only win is against Denise Gomez, where she just got overpowered in about 20 seconds, and knocked down and knocked out. She bounced back with a win against Sam Hughes. Now she takes on Souza. Souza, who is 2-0 inside Invicta, 1-1 inside UFC, and she lost against Kareem Silva in via knee bar, then bounced back against Marek Mann. This one, are you going in favor of the hands of a really heavy favorite in Yasmin, who showed a little bit of promise and then got caught against Gomez, but is she going to get caught against Souza? If there is a route to victory, is anyone looking at that? Maybe Yasmin doesn't like to take a punch, but if Yasmin gets you to the ground, it potentially could be a wrap. She'll wrap you up and potentially get that submission.
So I think the UFC has been very intelligent with this matchmaking for Yasmin. They kind of realized that they need to be a little steady with the matchmaking here. and they've put together a great scenario here. You have Yasmin, who actually is a knockout artist, which is very rare at this weight class. You have Kellen Souza, who's been knocked out before. She is not very durable. So this is a perfect recipe for Yasmin to add to the highlight reel. I think she's going to knock her out in round 2 of this fight. She's going to be super fired up with that pro-Mexican crowd out there. She's going to hunt that finish. And Ketlin Souza, I just have not been impressed by her by any stretch of the imagination. On the ground, she gets submitted. On the feet, she gets knocked out. And I think Yasmin is going to toy with her here and look like this big 5-1 favorite and really bolster her profile.
Yeah, I take that back. Yasmin is not going to submit. Looking at the record of Salza, knee guard versus Korean Silva, knocked out leg kick, body kick against Ariana Karalusi. So yeah, a finish will present itself for Yasmin, and I don't think it'll be via submission. Looking at her record as well, TKO, punches. So maybe a knockdown and then a ground and pound finish for Yasmin. That's what I'm going to go for. Fantastic stuff. I'm looking forward to this one. Next one is Edgar Chairez versus Joshua Van. Not fast forward, rewind a few months ago, when we saw, when Joshua Van was heading into that bout against Charles Johnson. He was a massive prospect. He was coming off three fantastic wins inside the UFC. He was looking good, and not the hype got derailed a little bit, but Charles Johnson had his number that night. I think this is a great opportunity for Joshua Van to go in there and just kind of rebuild himself. But suffering that first loss, there could be a lot of things that could be going in the mind of Joshua Van. It was a bad loss. He got knocked out. All them things are going to be playing in his mind. It's all about how he bounces back against Edgar Chairez, and I believe he will. Before that, he was looking great. He had some really good wins against Zuma Gulov, Karen Borjas, Felipe Bunes. So he's looking good, but that loss against Charles Johnson might come a little bit too early, too quick. He's 22. He's young. He's going to learn. He's still got a lot of time. And I believe, not the comeback, but, sort of a road back starts this weekend against Edgar Chairez. I feel like only that loss will help him improve. And I think he gets the victory this weekend. And I think he's going to make it in spectacular fashion. I feel like we're going to see a stoppage. Maybe the second or third round is what I'm looking for.
I'm a big believer in Josh Van. This guy has not been training in MMA for that long, and he's already beaten combo sambo world champions. He's just looks spectacular out there against these great prospects, and he's a rare guy at flyweight in the fact that he can knock guys out quite easily. And you have to mention that his grappling defense is stellar. This guy defends takedowns from everybody and scrambles up to his feet. Edgar Chairez is mainly a jiu-jitsu guy, but he's got really good Muay Thai on the feet. He's very dangerous. He's a long and lanky guy for flyweight. 5'7" is tall for flyweight. And he's also enjoying a 7-inch reach advantage in this fight. He's going to try to use it, but honestly, Josh Van is just great at getting into the pocket, getting to these brawls. I don't really think Edgar Chairez is going to knock him out. I think Joshua Van will have a much higher volume. If you saw his fight last year in the Madison Square Garden, he landed over 100 significant strikes in a 3-round fight. He loves to go to the body, which is smart against a durable guy like Edgar Chairez. So I think Joshua Van is a better boxer in this fight, and that's what we're going to see a lot of. And if Chairez tries to grapple him, he's going to defend all of those takedowns fairly easily. So Joshua Van is the rightful favorite. He's going to win a decision.
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a spectacular show this weekend in the UFC. And we're starting off with a prelim against Raul Rosas Jr. This guy, probably one of the most followed, up there for top 5 followers fighter on the card. I don't even know what he's got on Instagram, but I believe it's over 1 million maybe. So this guy, he's got a lot of fans, a lot of people watching him because of the hype he made. There you go. So he's got 535k on Instagram. He's got a lot of fans, a lot of people watching him because he was the young, 16-year-old on the Contender Series inside the UFC. He looked on his UFC debut against Jay Perrin, and then lost against Christian Rodriguez, who was just better than him on the day, sapped the life out of him. But since then, he beat Terence Mitchell and Ricky Tiosos. And now he takes on Rishi Lang, who he's had a lot of fights in his career. He's 25 and 11, but still, I have to question a little bit of I have to question a little bit the legitimacy of him. He's had some decent wins against Jay Perrin, Cameron Elsey, and Johnny Munoz Jr. But he's lost against Zahabi, Cody Durden, and Jeff Molina. Fights that I believe people should have beat him, have beat him, and I feel like this weekend as well, Royal Jr. should beat him. He's a massive favourite though, -1,000 according to Tapology. I think he gets the job done, but I don't. If you have a little bit of money, and maybe a little bit of a sprinkle on Arisha Lang because Roy Russell Jr. is still young. I think there's mistakes to be made there.
I just think we got to keep this short and sweet. Ramos Jr. will be able to get takedowns. He will get his back, and he's going to choke him out. I think this happens fairly early, probably in round one. Richie Lang has given up takedowns to Jay Perrin, and we saw what Rosas Jr. did to Jay Perrin. He strangled him in round one. I just am not a believer in Richie Lang's grappling defense. He's a very tough guy on the feet to fight. He's been in these wars, but Robles Jr. is super aggressive on the feet. Sure, he'll take a couple punches here and there if he decides to brawl, but at the end of the day, he will get that back and he will choke him out. That's just as simple as it gets here. The UFC knows what they're doing with this matchup. They were not going to give Robles Jr. a huge challenge here. This is just a showcase fight, so that's what he's going to do. He's going to get showcased, and he's going to give momentum to this crowd. He's going to rile up that crowd, and it's going to just boost the momentum of the Mexican fighters. Hopefully they win more than they lose. Hopefully it's not like Canada this past January where all the Canadian men lost.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a fantastic one. The Mexicans are going to go crazy. It's going to be wild in the fans, in the arena, especially when Sean O'Malley walks out against Marav Dvalishvili. Alexa Grasso walks out. I'm looking forward to see how it all plays out. I feel like we're watching like a mystery event because we have no idea what's going to happen. We know there's going to be a movie, all the production. I kind of like it. I'm not too sure what to expect. I'm just hoping it delivers. That's the only thing.
Let me spoil one thing for you. I know one thing that we can expect. There's going to be a hologram of Dana White that is going to speak fluent Spanish during the event. He showed this to Robbie Fox of Barstool Sports. And while we're talking about Robbie Fox from Barstool Sports, I think we have to address something. Michael Chandler's not fighting Conor McGregor next. He's fighting Charles Oliveira next in the co-main event of UFC 309. What do you make of that news?
I think it's a big decision. I think it's a big risk. I think it could go, a lot of ways. Michael Chandler said he was sick of waiting for Conor McGregor, so he took a fight against Charles Oliveira. But if he loses that fight, he could be out of the whole picking for Conor McGregor. You know what he's like. McGregor likes to pick and choose who he wants to fight. If Michael Chandler loses that one bad, gets finished, McGregor might not like that fight anymore, then the fight's gone. There's a lot of history there between Michael Chandler and Conor McGregor, so I feel like it's going to be theirs. They've got to run it. They have to run it. They had the Ultimate Fighter season. They had all this time waiting. Supposedly meant to be fighting each other. I'm just not too sure what to believe though. Michael Chandler said it. Conor McGregor's the most unreliable man. Then McGregor comes out on Twitter and said that he's ready. He just wants a date. I think the problem is, I think he's got 2 fights left on his deal. And I feel like the UFC don't know whether to renegotiate with him or not. And I feel like that's why we're stuck.
There's something unusual going on here. You have the biggest star in the sport, and you're not going out of your way to book him when he's publicly begging you to. So something weird is going on here. Somebody's delaying this. But at the end of the day, Michael Chandler wasted 2 years of his career for basically nothing. And honestly, I think he's going to get demolished by Charles Oliveira. Michael Chandler's 38 now, and Charles, I think, is still in his prime. So it's a very tough fight. And I think it stands to reason that Charles Oliveira is going to steal that Conor fight right from Michael Chandler's hands.
Yeah, I think we can see the 2-year break for Michael Chandler working in 2 different ways. He either comes back, he looks incredible, refreshed. The 2-year break's done wonders for him, because he's fought a lot in his career, took a lot of damage, or he comes back and he looks absolutely terrible. And then he gets finished really bad by Charles Oliveira, and that's it. You know, the McGregor fight's gone. But yeah, I'm not too sure what to expect from from Michael Chandler, but I do agree on the Charles Oliveira pick. I think it might be quite similar to the first fight. You might see a knockdown from Chandler, but I think eventually Charles Oliveira will finish 5 rounds as well. 5 rounds. I think eventually Charles Oliveira will finish Michael Chandler.
Yeah, fascinating fight, fascinating week in MMA. We know for a fact that tonight the entire card of UFC 309 will be announced at the post-fight press conference. So be prepared for that news drop. We know John Jones is fighting Stipe Miocic for the heavyweight title in the main event. Dana White confirmed it yesterday. So we're just waiting on the rest of the card. Colby Covington is expected to be on the card, potentially MVP on this card. This is going to be a fun one. So, yeah, 309, that takes place in November, but let's focus on Noche UFC. If you want to add the Riyadh season to it because they're funding the bill, go ahead. But yeah, you got Turkey in the audience here. This guy is going to bring some famous friends, including Dana White's best friend, my namesake, Oscar De La Hoya. It's going to be a party out there, and you don't want to miss it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. A lot of shots going down this weekend, whether it's punches, whether it's whiskey, whether it's tequila. I think there's going to be a lot of them taken down this weekend. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Sean O'Malley versus Murad Dusrali in the main event at UFC Noche, UFC 306 at the Sphere. It's not going to disappoint. I think it's going to be a fantastic event. Make sure you watch it tonight. I was going to say this weekend. Make sure you watch it tonight. It's going to be a spectacle. Nothing that we've seen before, I believe, inside the UFC and MMA. I feel like this is going to really show the levels of the UFC compared to everybody else, PFL, etc. So this is going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to it. Oscar, a very thank you. I'm looking forward to this fight this weekend. What fight today? What's one fight that fans should look out for? Maybe it's going under the radar.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Manuel Torres versus Ignacio Bahamondes on the prelims. I think that should honestly be on the main card. It's going to be that exciting. And I'm going to leave you guys with one thing. Enjoy the fights and Viva Mexico.
Yeah, let's go. Viva Mexico. Something like that anyway. But yeah, enjoy the fights and we'll catch you next weekend. Next week where we get to talk about it all. A very goodbye.